Okay, it is 6 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Do need to adopt the agenda, motion to at least.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to adopt the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. 3.0, approval of minutes from several special meetings and a regular meeting, I guess.
Move to approve.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve those meeting minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. 4.0, consideration of bills and warrants, which were in your Friday view, as I recall. Do you have any issues with those?
Move to approve bills and warrants.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve those bills and warrants. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. 5.0, hearing of requests and suggestions of citizens and organizations. Is there anyone that would like to address the board? Seeing none, hearing none, we'll move to 6.0, report of the superintendent of schools.
All right, so today was the first day back for all of the teachers, classified and certified staff. So we met at the high school this morning. We had the pancake guys there to flip pancakes, and people were able to enjoy a breakfast. We had a group meeting in the gym, so we were all masked and able to kind of spread out. We took a picture, and then we got started the opening session, going over things like expectations, the plan, what Wednesdays are going to look like, the walkthrough tool, kind of went over the plan for the upcoming year. Lunch was provided by Commercial Bank, so we appreciate them providing that Chicken Annie's dinner, so everyone got a chicken dinner to head out at lunchtime and enjoy. This afternoon, staff were all in the buildings, so administrators will share, kind of what they did. So I was at Lincoln this afternoon, and that was fun. I had forgotten, and there were lots of questions. We went through the handbook, we did introductions, talked about procedures and protocols, and got those things ready. So tomorrow is a work day, and so everyone will be in their rooms and have that day to work. So tomorrow evening is the Kansas Can Success, like the reunion tour. Back in 2015, Dr. Watson made the trip around the state and visited with different schools. I think he was actually here, if I remember correctly. But we're gonna go tomorrow and hear him in Coffeyville. Tomorrow evening, it starts at 6. So if board members, if you wanna join us, that's at 4:45. We're gonna meet here at the high school and then head out. So then August the 18th, which will be the day before school starts, that day will be professional development. The building administrators can share what they're gonna do. At Lincoln, we have got a day full of guided reading, map assessment prep, training, a variety, really good reading training. So all of those things happening there with some team building and team collaboration time as well. So on the 18th, that evening, sneak peek for elementaries. So our elementaries will be open from 4:30 to 6:30, all three of them, on Wednesday night. And parents can come and bring their children, just real quick, drop off their supplies. Of course, we ask that you sanitize, you wear your mask, and spread out best you can, but we're gonna have school and get started. We know it's important for those little ones to get in the room and kind of meet their teachers. So that's Wednesday evening. And then on Thursday, that's the 19th, and then we've got students. Kind of crazy, it's back. So kindergarten through 5th grade will be there. They dismiss at 1 o'clock that day. And then our 6th graders and new students at the middle school and our freshmen and new students at the high school will be there that day, and they dismiss at 12:45. And then we get to August the 20th, and then we have all students all day. So we're excited about that. So something we talked about today was our late start Wednesdays. And so as a part of the negotiation, the PNEA agreed those 20 extra minutes of contract time will be added to 1 day a week, so it's going to be Wednesday. So on Wednesdays, our elementary school is going to start at 8:30. Every other day during the week, it's going to start at 8:10, but we'll start at 8:30 on Wednesdays next week. Now, the buildings are going to be open at the same time. So the elementary buildings will be open at 7:40 in the morning every day, Monday through Friday. But on Wednesday, school at the elementary level is going to start at 8:30 instead of 8:10. So our secondary kids, their school day is going to typically start at 8 o'clock, but then on that Wednesday, it'll be 8:20. And so buses will be adjusted accordingly on that Wednesday, but the buildings are open, so if someone needs to get to work, they can definitely bring their child and drop them off before we go. So, got that. Oh, the ESER 2 update, it's exciting. It was on the State Board of Education agenda last week, and everything was approved. So the windows at Guthridge were reimbursed, so we've got those windows at Lincoln that are ordered. We're excited, got some new curriculum, and we're able to pay some additional wages for summer school. We did find out that that entire award needs to be awarded, which means we have to have a plan written and approved by the December board meeting. And now that's the December board meeting for the State Board of Education. So I turned ours in after our early June meeting, and we got on the agenda in August. So I would really, my goal is this next month to get something by September, so at our September board meeting, we can review what we'd like to use that money for, and then we can submit it so that all the money can be awarded by the end of December. Now, we will not have spent it all. We have until 2024 to spend it, and we may change our minds. I mean, some things may come up and the curriculum may cost less or more or other things, and that's okay. We can always do change orders. I guess I don't really call it a change order, but you can put a change in, but you have to have all of that money awarded first. So we definitely want to get that done. We don't want to leave any money on the table. So that's kind of where we're at. Thursday night, the first day of school, when we've got those partial groups at the middle school and high school, that's going to be their open house. And so that's going to be from 5:30 to 7:30 on Thursday, the middle school. So parents can come out. There won't be a general session. We're not going to all get together and try to gather somewhere. And we're going to kind of spread out. Everyone's going to wear a mask, hand sanitize, and visit and start the school year. So that's what I have. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Yes, on the ESER 2 update, are
Yes.
we going to meet as a facilities team because we're kind of behind, we need to meet?
We do need, James and I visited about that. And
Okay.
so we need to meet prior to the September board meeting so that if there are other facilities things we'd like to add to the ESER 2 plan, we can do that.
Okay.
Okay, so yes.
And we did order the windows at the same cost that they originally proposed, correct?
I called Marjorie at Peerless and left her a message. So as far as she was supposed to call me back, I don't think she's called me back today, but yes, I visited with her the beginning of last week before it was on the state board agenda and told her as soon as it was, I'd let her know. And she said, okay, and then that was, she didn't say anything about an amount being any different.
Okay. And the same contractor will put them in,
Same
correct?
contractor will put them in. So, and he's almost finished at Guthridge. The outside, the exterior looks really, really nice. There's still some interior work, is my understanding, that needs to be finished. Yep.
Okay, moving on to 7.0, report on the August Tri-County Board meeting. Mr. Castle.
Okay, we have 3 new members of the 7 on the Tri-County Board, so the majority of the meeting was dedicated to kind of updating and educating the 3 new members on how funding is acquired for the co-op and all the things that go on. And so that took the big end of the meeting. The rest of the meeting, we did approve the budget for the year. We approved a curriculum for the TEC of N2 Unique and N2Y, and approved the 6B application. And masks are optional at this time. May change.
For Tri-County?
Yep, Tri-County.
But if they work within our building, they have to wear them.
They follow our guidelines, except, so really the only place that masks are optional is in their office and in the TEC center.
Any other questions here for? Okay, thank you very much. Moving to 8.0, reports from principals. Mr. Barkus?
I know he handed out a packet of information their agenda today, their faculty meeting and all of that. Good stuff, so.
Yeah, I shared with you earlier an agenda for today. Lori and Jeff really encouraged us to really focus this year on teacher expectations and administrator expectations with our staff. So unfortunately, we only got to about number 4 on this list because we had such good dialogue throughout the afternoon, really setting those expectations for what we want our teachers to do and also what our teachers expect of us. So I felt it was a very productive afternoon. Wednesday morning, we will continue this, plus our plan for Wednesday, which will be that early start, which we'll go ahead and get accustomed to. As you know, fall sports all started today. There's about 55 kids out for football, 25 for soccer, 2 for golf, 9 for tennis, 5 for cross country. So those all got started today. Football had to cut short a little early because thunder and lightning already. So it's that time of year. We're very excited to get started. Any questions from you guys?
A couple.
Okay.
On the PHS regulation room,
Yes.
I'm assuming that's new for this year?
We've had a regulation room since we went over and visited Coffeyville a couple of years ago, but we haven't utilized it as well as we should have.
Okay.
So we're going to go from kind of a regulation room where kids are dysregulated. They have a place to go before they get really dysregulated and it turns into a big behavior problem.
So then I'm assuming there's no in-school suspension room.
It's going to be changed to the recovery room, and it's going to be based on a point system to get out,
Okay.
where they'll have to talk to the counselors, they'll have to write a reflective essay. There'll be a point system where our goal is to get them to kind of walk through what caused the behavior, and then they're not just in ISS for 3 days. So they'll be, till you reach this number of points, they'll have a chance to get out of ISS, so it won't be necessarily 3 to 5 days of ISS like it used to be.
That's good. And so is that run by a certified teacher or?
Right now, our ISS job is not filled. We just had a resignation, I think, this morning or yesterday morning. So,
And where is that regulation room?
in the counselor's office.
Oh, in the counsel's
Yes.
office. Oh, that's good, okay. And then one more thing. Define mandated reporter. I think I know what it is, but
That's if you're,
the last page.
that's for abuse.
Tips for mandated reporters.
If you suspect child abuse, it's any adult in the building that is a mandated reporter.
And that's a state law.
That's a state law, yes.
Rob, did you say how many were out for volleyball?
18, I did not say how many are out for volleyball. I missed, that's the one I missed. Brooke will be happy.
I played volleyball. No, I didn't.
I know. Yes, sir?
Got a question.
Yes.
Cell phones. I've heard usage problems over the years. Are we doing anything different this year?
Cell phones at high school, a lot of teachers allow them. That's going to be it's on our behavior chart. If you look at
I see
a
that.
level 1 behavior, that's going to be regulated by the teacher in the classroom, and then if it becomes a problem, they'll refer them to me. Some teachers allow, if you're done with your work, you can peruse on your phone. Some teachers don't allow it at all. It's kind of hard in the handbook. That's one thing that's really hard for all teachers to agree upon, because sometimes you need it. Since we went 1-to-1, I think we'll see cell phone usage drop because they have a computer now, so hopefully that will help with some of the cell phone issues.
And how about the Viking time? There was always a question about the value of it. Is it going to have specific?
Right now, we've looked at for every Tuesday, we're going to have a social emotional curriculum. It takes about less than 10 minutes for a teacher to get ready for, that our counselors are going to put forth. Jeff and Eric listened to a presentation from
Core.
the Core Project. So every Tuesday will definitely be planned, and then every Wednesday will be our IPS time.
So other than that,
Eric and I have talked a little bit about, I think they're doing some with IPS, so I think you'll see it evolve into more of a structure tied to KISA assigned topics, so doing stuff on civic engagement, doing lessons on social emotional, doing lessons on IPS, so, there'll still be some checking with grade cards, academic mentoring by that teacher, checking on their grades, but there's going to be more of a structured time evolving.
that's not going to be a free time.
Well,
as
you
it
know,
has in the past,
sometimes the
somewhat.
kids need some of that study hall where they can get help with things if they don't have help, at home, somebody to help them at home with the math and, make up a test. So you need some of that, but probably we need to utilize that time some too, so.
I'm just curious how much
Yeah.
we're getting in there, okay?
So on individual student plans, who writes those? Who gets to see those? And where are they stored?
That's,
Well, and this year, it's going to be online, and so the counselors will work with the students and the teachers to work on those individual plans of study, and then it will be shared at spring parent-teacher conferences, because we're going to have student-led conferences, so.
So hold on, I'm confused.
Okay.
So the counselors, so teachers will be writing those, is that what you're
Well,
saying?
students will be writing them with teachers and with counselor support, is my understanding.
In
Some
an
of that will be,
academic?
some of that will be developed with our strategic plan. So we're going to create a committee that's going to,
Okay, so it's not developed yet.
well, I mean, they've had talks, but it's in the beginning stages. I think that strategic plan, that committee needs to come together and say, is this going to be something digital? Is it something on paper? What's going to be included? What's going to be shared? Who's a part of that? So I think they're still developing to do that. They're still doing, some career exploration, during that time, some job skills during that time. So, there's pieces of that IPS that are already in place, but a lot of those details that you're asking about are going to be coming out with that strategic plan for each building for the middle school and high school.
Because it does start at middle school, right?
It does,
Yes.
it does. And Diana has done that for a number of years.
Yes, she
So,
has.
yeah, but there is a new online version that they ran last year, just towards the end, to look at where we could start to build something that was digital instead of on paper. But Jeff's right, we have things on paper, now we've got some digital availability, so it's going to be a matter of putting it all together.
It's kind of like the digitized IEPs.
Right.
Yes.
And to answer your question too, I think their Viking time teacher is going to have a big role in that.
Right.
Okay.
So when we do student-led conferences in the spring too, it'll be that teacher, the parent, and the student talking about that student's IPS.
So that would answer Roger's question.
Right, and then the way they're set it up at the high school is all the seniors are with the counselors during that IPS time, which is perfect, because they're making sure they're getting signed up for scholarship opportunities, making sure they're meeting the deadlines for applying for colleges, and doing those things that need to be really done their senior year. So that's kind of how they're looking at setting that up.
For me, what that does, it levels the playing field now,
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
theoretically.
Well, it's good that you set aside, because when I first heard about this several years ago, my big question was time. And so now you're building time in, because it's huge and it's important. And so to really set kids on their plan, so it was a career, really.
Yeah, and I think the student-led conferences are going to be such a great opportunity for, a lot of times those kids wait till their senior year to decide what are they going to do next year. Well, now we're going to be having that conversation 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, every year we're having a conversation about what do I want to do after high school?
It just doesn't get
And
dropped.
what are the plans for that? And what do I need to do to get there? And how do my grades look? And so those conversations are going to happen every year, which is great.
One more question.
yes, sir.
On lunch period, how is that going to run?
We're going to have 2 lunch periods like we did this year. Me and Mr. Swanson will be in there. He asked for some extra staff in there. It'll be 30-minute lunch. Freshmen and sophomores have to stay on campus.
No ifs or buts?
No ifs or buts. Freshmen and sophomores stay on campus for lunch, yes.
Okay.
We'll have some lunch tables outside, right where the windows, you can see outside, so we can monitor there. And me and Mr. Swanson will be in there every day for sure, and then whatever staff we can get to be in there with us.
Has there ever been any talk, I know there has, about doing something with that courtyard, or is that kind of a lost cause until we get something else going in there?
We also have lunch tables out there. Hopefully, they started with COVID last year, teachers started having some classes out there, so maybe that may continue.
I was talking about lunch though, but that's all right.
Yeah, the courtyard is open at lunch. It was open last year. It's actually been open for the last 2 years.
Now, how about kids coming back in? I hear a little bit of feedback on that, bringing drinks back into the school, and it varies teacher by teacher. I'm wondering on that, what's our policy on that?
We're going to follow the staff handbook, which would be no outside drinks. Really push everyone to follow the handbook, and all the doors are locked except one at lunch, so we'll be able to see, the cafeteria door and the main entrance, so we can monitor there.
So there'll be no drinks. Students do not bring drinks to the classroom, correct?
Correct.
None? Okay.
Maybe a bottle of water. I don't want to say none.
Well, no, but outside Sonic
Correct.
drinks.
Right.
Cups, because I've just seen them, so I'm curious. Okay.
Any further questions for Mr. Barkus? Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Rob.
Mr. Gordon, if you're available.
How's it going, guys?
Good.
Today we got in there and I had the entire afternoon inside of the building with the staff. It was about 50 of us in the community room whenever you considered all the Tri-County paras, all of our aides, and all of our teachers. And so this is kind of what we went over. We went over our school theme this year, back to the basics, engaging students socially, emotionally, and then also in their own individual plans of study, kind of to piggyback off what Jeff was talking about earlier. We wrapped up last year, went over our MAP scores at the end of last year, and where we finished, what summer school looked like, and what we were able to do there. We had all but one student meet the standards that we outlined for them in June. So that was successful, and the kid was only off by two of the standards. And so we feel comfortable pushing them onto the high school and promoting them onto the high school after they've been able to accomplish that. And that was, Autumn Dickens did a great job organizing our summer school this year. We introduced our new staff. We went over some of the building changes that we're going to see throughout this school year. One of them is our Viking times. Our Viking times are going to be on 3-year rotations. So incoming sixth graders this year, they're going to have the exact same Viking time teachers that they'll start every day with for the next 3 years. And so they'll establish that relationship, and that'll be something that they can count on moving forward in those first 30 minutes of every day. Another one of the changes was obviously our contract time this year. I scheduled our departments 6, 7, 8 for each one of our core classes, so social studies, math, and science, and so they're on the same plan time this school year. And so we kind of went through that once a week they're going to go meet with our instructional coaches, and we're going to continue developing on the professional development that we started last year. Then we went over my staff expectations. I went over what they can expect from me throughout the school year. We went over our building's target goal, which is high engagement, 90 to 100% engagement. And the reason that we based it on that is based on the new walkthrough tool. That's the highest marking that it has is 90 to 100. And so that's our building goal, is that each month we want to be checking that, our active engagement rates, and make sure that we have students that are on task and working through the schoolwork. We went over our master schedule, our bell schedule, and I went over our monthly calendar. So one way that I will communicate with them, and I'll kind of continue this from what I've done the past 2 years, I email them every Monday and Friday at 7:30, and it's on Mondays it's Positive Contacts, on Fridays it's Feel Good Friday. And this year, one of the pieces that are going to be included is a monthly calendar so that they can see where I'm at, kind of like the Viking view that you guys receive from Lori. And so it kind of breaks it down day by day and what our PLCs are going to look like on those Wednesday mornings, in the morning, and what each topic is going to be. We went over committee assignments. We took myself, Susan, Kendra, and Diana. We sat down with the district strategic goals, and we outlined our committees and included responsibilities and measurements that they're going to be collecting throughout the school year in their agenda. So it should be parallel or lined directly up with your district strategic goals. So we should have evidence to present at each one of those school board meetings. But that was kind of our day. It took us a couple hours to get through.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a busy day.
all those little details.
Yeah.
Any questions for Mr. Gordon here? Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tyler.
Thanks, Tyler. Sounds good.
Hi, Misty.
I have a report from Mr. Freeze. He said that the faculty met today and went over their plans and operations for the 2021-22 school year. For Garfield, we have everyone enrolled at Garfield except for 2 students. Our enrollment is at 174 plus 10 in the life skills room. So that gives us 86 second graders and 88 third graders, and we're averaging 17 to 18 students per classroom. We do not have any new classroom teachers this year. Last year we had 3. We do have a new art teacher, new PE, new music, and new school counselor. And we had 3 staff switch positions within the building. Our theme this year is Reach for the Stars. Our staff met this afternoon to go over our celebrations from last year and procedures and goals for this new year. One of our biggest celebrations at Garfield was that our third graders finished the year by exceeding the state in math state assessment scores and equaled the state in reading. And we take great pride in this academic progress in such a challenging COVID year. I'm super excited about this school year. Garfield has a very energetic building team prepared to handle every challenge that we face. And then on Wednesday, we're going to go over the new e-walkthrough document, do more training on dyslexia, go over the McCrell evaluation document. Our counselors are going to share some things with us, and we're going to do curriculum work. As with last year, I want families to know that we have many COVID measures in place to ensure the safety of our staff and students. We want to invite everyone to our sneak peek open house for all 3 elementary schools Wednesday night at 4:30 to 6:30. Also, I want to thank Commercial Bank for the lunch that they provided for us today. Thank you.
Questions for Mrs. Russell?
Misty, did you have teachers switch classes? Is that what you meant?
No,
Oh.
we had, like our full-time sub took our STEM position.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I
And
just wondered if
anyway,
there
they just did
Okay.
some
the
switching around.
switches like that. Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, moving on here, 9.0, action to accept donations to schools. It is my understanding that we didn't have any during this period, so we'll move on to 9.1. Mr. McGuire is out ill this evening, and so as a result, we will table 9.1 until a later date, which brings us to 9.2.
All right, so President Biden declared June the 19th as Juneteenth, the National Independence Day, a U.S. federal holiday. So this modification would include adding June 19th as an observed federal holiday on the 21, 22, and future calendars. I recommend to make that modification.
I so move.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded to approve Juneteenth, the National Independence Day. Add that to the calendar. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. 9.3, discussion and action on the district mass policy for CASHA-sponsored activities.
Okay, so Amanda handed out to you a page that had the CASHA symbol at the top that said COVID-19 mitigation information for the year, and I'm sure Mr. Castle could share with us any other information. It really is, they want people to be vaccinated, kids that don't feel well, people that don't feel well should stay home, reinforce, coughing correctly, washing your hands. They talk about mask use in public indoor spaces, by those vaccinated and unvaccinated, screening, and continuing to follow the guidelines. They do not make a recommendation, per se, or they do not make a mandate. But they say, here are all the recommendations, do with them as.
So let's talk about this then.
So a student could refuse to wear a mask, correct?
Our students are expected to wear a mask and our staff, so no, our students can't refuse without there being a disciplinary consequence.
So it's visiting students.
I would say visiting students that are participating, we can ask that they mask as well. Part of it is going to be the crowd.
We can ask them to mask when they're on the bench, but the
Right.
general,
Right.
under CASA, if you read on there, if they're playing, it's okay. for them
Right,
to
yeah,
wear
it's
a
okay.
mask. But, it's really more a discussion on how we handle the spectators. 'cause
It's a
that's-
spectator issue.
That was the issue last year,
So we're mainly talking about football right now for
No, I would
this.
say you're talking about indoor, you're talking about volleyball.
Right. Yes, indoor, yeah, volleyball.
Yeah, because the thing is, when you're indoors, and what we noticed last year when we would monitor is, if you're eating, then you don't have your mask on. And there were some schools that, I think, handed out Tootsie Pops before they went places, so they'd have a sucker in their mouth the whole, it just was that kind of thing.
It's also very difficult to enforce the mask rule at sporting events for fans from other towns. You can't go up and address it without embarrassing them.
Even if you do
It's
it
just
real
very
quiet.
public. I was threatened multiple times last year. It was very difficult to enforce. Now, I think the two options you have are mask indoors required for Acacia spectators or recommended. What we kind of found, I think Acacia kind of found the same thing, was, people can move. If you're by somebody that's not masked, typically they sit in those areas. It's easier for us to control our students and staff. It gets difficult enforcing out-of-towners, spectators. It's very difficult on our administrators.
Are we going to have specific seating areas for volleyball?
We could do that. We could have visitors, yes, we
Well, I
could.
just was thinking
That's a
to
good idea.
monitor your people where they're at.
We did do that last year. We had specific spots. I don't know that we've talked about that this year.
In volleyball, the gym's never
Never full.
that.
Way you can spread out,
Right.
if they have all
You
the
totally-
bleachers out. If-
Yes, but it would be good to maybe,
And that's also enforcement too. That's a lot of work on our, I remember Mr. Barkus last year redirecting fans that sat in the wrong places and
Even if we
where they
put
need
big
to sit
signs,
and,
they seem to cut it.
yeah, when you see wide open spaces, people want to use the wide open spaces, I guess.
So what you guys do at Coffeyville?
Coffeyville, you mean this year, you mean last year, this year? We followed the Acacia guidelines last year, so we started out requiring masks. It was very difficult on us. We had to increase police presence because we were having problems. And then when Acacia switched it to optional and ticket, then we went to that. Now, I think most of the districts that are going optional are obviously going to be optional with Acacia. We've talked to Pittsburgh and Fort Scott, who are going to require masks indoors at this time. At this time is what they told us.
So the only thing we'd be talking about would be volleyball, correct?
Correct.
For this
Football,
season.
not necessarily.
It's
'cause we'll be
outdoors, I think
outdoors.
you're fine.
Volleyball shouldn't be too hard to,
I wouldn't think.
Will we require the officials in volleyball to wear masks or not?
I think most of them did last year, but I think that obviously basketball did not, so it probably
We
guidance from.
consider them visitors in
A
our.
a mask in volleyball, unless you have a special whistle, you blow a whistle and it comes right back in your ears. So most officials that I saw did not wear a mask except during timeouts and between matches and sets. They put them on, but they did not wear them while they're actually officiating.
I can see that on the official that's up, but the official that's down,
Yeah.
he's not
It's
blowing
talking
a
to
whistle.
people.
Right,
He has to blow a whistle too, though, he or she.
never seen him blow one.
But I saw one official with a electronic whistle last year, and he used it for about 3 plays and threw it away because he was hitting it inadvertently. And so most of them did not wear a mask. I had 1 or 2 who did. They had a special whistle and a special mask with the cutout in it. I think you'll see that your officials aren't going to, and I think it would be wrong for us to mandate officials, if we're gonna let the girls play without masks on, we shouldn't mandate an official to wear a mask while the match is going on. During timeouts and between sets and matches, absolutely, and that's a requirement in here.
So this would also, I would think, apply to LCC, who's using our building as well.
Right,
So
and they-
whatever we do. So.
Right, and they've said they would be happy to comply with whatever the board decides. They're appreciative of being able to use the facilities.
So we're dealing with a volleyball season primarily and an LCC partial volleyball, I guess. That's what we're dealing with.
That's it.
For the next couple, 3 months.
For the next month or so.
So what's your pleasure?
Go a month at a time and see how it goes.
We're going a month at a time, but what do you want to do for a month at a time?
I think it should be highly recommended, but, like you said, it's hard to monitor.
The policing is,
Yeah, that's,
do they get pretty nasty with you?
And confident, and see, we're very fortunate because in Parsons, they really didn't. And there were a number that we had to, it would be, well, I'm eating this popcorn. That's why I don't have it on. I'm
Yeah.
eating something or I'm drinking something.
Yeah.
But they weren't.
But I think also last year, Keisha didn't allow spectators, and I think the parents were happy to get back. They were probably
Right.
more apt to comply. I
Right.
think it's so political right now that this could be very difficult for our administrators to enforce. I think we probably need to make sure we'd hire police staff to be there at the volleyball games too, so it'd be additional cost with it too.
But if we just recommended it, it wouldn't be as
Well,
bad.
and if you're near somebody that's not wearing a mask, you can move,
yeah,
you know?
I agree. So basically, just follow CASHA guidelines then, would be our recommendation.
Be highly encouraged during
Yeah.
indoor activities.
I think that's the way we should go right now. It might be different during basketball, but
Yeah, that's a different horse down the road.
I will say that this issue is not on the next Board of Directors agenda. So unless somebody adds it at the day of the meeting, this guideline will stay in place in the near future. This agenda is in September, and it's not on that agenda.
When is LCC going to be a public?
They will have 2 activities that I think will be open to.
Public.
But chances are there probably will be a lot of, I would.
If it's anything like ours, no. I mean, those aren't largely attended, it isn't like
Is
basketball.
it less than 100 roughly?
I would think so, yes.
Yes.
So they
I'd
could
probably
spread.
Stick around too if you guys
So-
needed to talk to them.
I don't know if Rob knows how many, I think it would be less than 100. Would it be less than 100, you think, in attendance probably?
Yeah, I've talked to Aaron Kill, athletic director at LCC, and right now, he's thinking limiting his home volleyball to two fans per player and not letting any visitors in. But he hasn't decided for sure, but that's the way he's leaning because they only have 3 dates with us. So we have 5 home dates for volleyball, high school, and 3 with the LCC. So you're talking 8 dates, really.
So what are your views on our masking then, in terms of our own volleyball? We've heard a lot about the policing problems and
It's-
the effort and so on and so forth.
It's hard to police, but it's also hard to, if we're not going to require it of other fans, it's hard to require it of our fans and students. It's just hard to enforce if we're going to let other teams come in and not wear masks, or other spectators, not teams. Players aren't the problem. I mean, it's the fans that are the problem. It's sitting in the right place. As Jeff said, you got some that will take a bag of popcorn and eat it the entire time. So the policing it's the problem.
But on the other hand, we have very few attendees, correct, from out of town, probably?
It just depends. If LC's coming down to our volleyball event, there'll be quite a few more people. I mean, it just depends on who you're playing. Like Fort Scott wouldn't necessarily travel as well as the closer schools.
Your meets are, they're mainly tries, so you have 3 schools here.
A few I think 2 quads and then tries, yeah.
We got 3 or 4 schools here,
Yes.
which will increase your numbers.
And Mr. Barkus makes a good point. If we're expecting our staff and our students to mask and others don't, it might be easier to have a box of masks and just say, everybody's got a mask, wear your mask. For the next 30 days, however many games that is. I think people will be appreciative of the fact that they get to go, get to come to the activity, and there'll be the popcorn eaters that just eat really slow, or the Tootsie Pop group that'll have the Tootsie Pop.
I think we just, like Joanne said, we highly recommend it and hope for the best.
So that would be your recommendation, highly recommended,
Highly recommend, yes.
and if somebody don't like it, they can get it and go. Move.
Yes,
And both sides will be open, correct?
yes. Well, in volleyball, we only use the top because we got 2 courts in there.
So you can't pull down the
Right.
bleachers.
So the bleachers don't pull out for volleyball.
And sometimes it's packed up there sometimes.
It
Oh,
can
we don't
travel
pull
out
out,
there.
we don't pull out the other side at all?
No,
Because they play on both.
they play on both,
Oh,
they
I
play
thought
side
pulled
to
out
side.
partial. And they don't pull out partial, do they? Okay, well, never mind then. Okay, I thought we pulled out partial. Well, that may be a different story, but how many seats are up there? Any idea? Couple hundred, 300?
350 maybe?
Could we have some signs put, as they come in, that masks are highly recommended, just something that you could. and
Yeah, we
I
have
don't-
plenty of signage. I mean.
Okay,
we-
yeah.
we-
I didn't know if we
Yeah,
did last
we
year,
did,
but
yes.
sometime, and I have seen more people around Parsons wearing masks now. I really have, so since it is so hard to enforce, I think,
I mean, I imagine if we have a quad, it's going to be difficult to social distance in just the balcony portion. I mean, we can open up the mezzanine for a few more seats, but it's still going to be hard to socially distance with 4 teams in there.
Yeah, I'd even make the suggestion if that's the direction we go, as far as highly recommended, that we actually have masks available, and actually people that don't have masks even hand them out at that point in time and tell them it's highly recommended.
And then you can, if someone's not wearing a mask and you're uncomfortable, there's still places to move. I mean,
right.
You also use the auxiliary gym at the same time,
yes,
and that's for sub-varsities.
yeah,
There's just 1 court there.
just 1 court there. Last year, we asked if your team wasn't playing not to go in there, but then you get the auditorium, not the
Commons area.
The commons area, yeah, sorry, I was looking for the word, that gets packed also, so it's just really hard with indoor sports. I mean, it's a struggle either way you go.
Okay, so we need a motion?
Well, hold on. I'm rereading Brian Williams' letter to the editor, which should be in tomorrow's newspaper. And he's pleading to the public and to Southeast Kansas to be really cautious because this COVID variant is vicious. And what he says, wear a mask in public settings. So I would say, instead of I would say, please wear a mask. That would be real simple. I wouldn't mandate it per se, as much as I'd like to, but after hearing all you said, I'm just saying, please wear a mask. And if possible, please social distance. Because he also says, avoid large gatherings. So hopefully, as much as you want a lot of people to attend these games, hopefully, I think last year didn't we not limit?
It was
We
limited,
had every
it was
other
limited
bleacher,
attendance
yeah.
per Keisha last year.
So that's not in effect for this year, is that correct?
Correct.
And it could be that if on that first game, the place is full, I know that Mr. Barkus's blood pressure will be up and he will call me and we will talk about, okay, maybe we need to look at limiting the number that are in. I mean, we've talked about that in the past. So that's,
I'll second that.
so that could be something if after the first, game or match, whatever it is, when they all get together.
Who's our first football game with?
start?
Our first volleyball?
Well,
First volleyball?
Well,
Football
I wonder
outside.
about football too. I mean, because if we're wondering about crowds, I didn't know.
September 5th, or the Friday before Labor Day. I'm
Yeah.
not sure the exact date, but outside is no mask.
Right, that's,
So,
Be September the 3rd.
So my
September 3rd, I'm
suggestion
sorry.
is to ask the spectators to please wear a mask, please be socially distanced.
They're not going to be able to be socially distant, is what he's saying, because of the quad tournaments. The bleachers aren't out during the tournaments we're having, so the only place that's open for seating is up above the chair backs, and so you're not going to be socially distancing on some days because there'll be too many people.
Well, then we go to Lori's, maybe we have to limit.
Either that, or we just have people wear a mask. You want to come watch volleyball? Put on a mask. I mean,
yeah.
it isn't easy to, I mean, I was there last year, so I know it was uncomfortable going up and saying, hey, I need you to put that up, but it wasn't. And it's for 30 days. Then the board can look at it again and see how many people actually came to volleyball? How many were there? Do we need to look at reducing the number?
Do we need to look at hiring 3 off-duty police officers to enforce it, to kick people out of our buildings? It's really that simple. Why are we even talking about allowing people to have maskless when all of our staff, all of our students are doing it? I don't understand this.
Well, neither
I am
do I,
shocked
so I'm
by
trying to
this.
say, I don't
If it's
either.
good enough for our students, good enough for our staff, why are we letting people from out of town who we don't know come in? And I just don't understand it. But I'm a vote of 1, so, and I'll vote my conscience. If we need to pay more money to hire people to enforce it, let's pay more money.
And we can certainly do that.
Or we can put
We can
it on our administrators, or we can say, come on in. I mean, we all know the options here, so it's that simple.
Yeah, because there's no such thing as strongly recommended working.
There's going to be people who wear them and people who don't. It's that simple. Rule followers and rule unfollowers, so.
Well, I'd like to see us require it, but I think it's an untenable situation we put our administrators in. I think that we will see before it's over that we will have no choice in the matter, that we will be mandated either by the local health department or the activity association or somewhere along the line. We're going to see it happen unless this variant goes away quicker than we think it might. But I guess that I'll just make a motion. I'll make a motion that we follow the Kansas State High School Activity Association's recommendations on the risk mitigation measures, including masking, and strongly recommend to the visiting team fans to wear the mask because we're going to be wearing them for our own. And hopefully we can get through this.
So just an interpretation for your motion, that means that the players will be masked while playing on the floor.
No, not while playing.
Or no, excuse me, the players will not be masked when playing on the floor. The players from both sides will be masked on the bench. Is that your motion?
Yes,
And any visitors, it's strongly recommended, whether there are visitors or visitors.
Yep.
Okay, I want to make sure I understood the motion. So that's the motion on the floor. Does anybody have a clarification on that?
Yes.
Okay.
So does that apply just to visiting people?
No.
Or this is everybody?
Any spectator
Okay.
would be highly recommended.
Indoors.
Indoor event, and we're going to revisit this every board meeting or more often if necessary. So every spectator would be recommended to wear a mask. Players do not have to wear a mask on the floor while they're playing. Players, when on the bench, would be masked. That's the motion.
Coaches are masked.
Coaches are masked.
Recommended?
They are masked, not
Coaches are
recommended.
masked.
They are masked.
Yes.
Okay.
So when did you say the first home game is for volleyball?
I'd have to, I don't have the
So I need a timeline here. Because Charlotte, South Carolina schools that opened last week are closed already because of the number of teachers and students that have this Delta variant?
We have a junior varsity here on September 7th.
What's the date?
September 7th.
7th?
7th, yes.
Right. Now, we have some middle school volleyball activities prior to that.
And they would follow the same rule.
Right.
And LCC would follow the same rule, unless they wanted to be more stringent with tickets and so forth. So,
I think they're definitely going to have some limitations with LCC.
Yeah.
okay.
They did
So-
last year.
So
They
if they
didn't even
want
let
to
people
become
in.
more stringent, all power to them.
What did they do?
Right now, they're talking, their conference is talking about limiting, but just that, I wouldn't say a favor, but just as number of spectator, they're thinking, let's limit our home players to 2, so we don't get their gym full.
Like we did last
Because we're, like the high school did last year. They just need gym space, so they're willing to work with us
And do whatever.
to do what they need to do so they can host some home games. Because they don't want to travel 22 more times, I guess. I don't know how many volleyball games they have.
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor. We need a second to proceed with the vote on that motion.
Second.
Okay, been moved, seconded. Do you have the motion down? Okay, all right. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
No.
Nay?
No.
Okay, no.
Okay, so we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Castle?
Yes.
Mr. Castle was yea. Sheree?
No.
Nay? Mr.
Yes.
No.
I was a nay.
Nay.
Nay?
Yes.
No.
Okay. Vote
Okay,
fails.
I got to you.
Okay, nay?
It's a 3-4.
Okay, Olivia
Nay.
was no. Joanne,
Yes.
yes. Ruth,
No. Nay.
Okay, so motion fails 4-3. So now we're back to the drawing board. Need another motion.
So our next step would be,
This board has to take another vote to establish a policy. That's the next step, because we don't have one yet.
okay, well, I think your policy is you require everyone to wear a mask or they're not allowed in the gym. Or if they don't wear a mask, they're asked to leave.
Okay? So the motion would then be
But
as
I'm not sure I
suggested.
can make the motion.
You're not going to make the motion.
But you're trying to.
Somebody has to make the motion.
I'll make that motion. I think with our stance on the staff and students, I think people are going to know that 503 is a mask location and therefore, our sports are no different than our daily activities indoor. So I'd make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
so that motion is masks required for all spectators?
Indoors.
Indoors,
Indoors.
and that was from David.
And I second.
Okay.
Okay,
Participants follow the same as the other, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah,
basically,
what our policy was last year.
Yeah, players, if you're on the court playing, you don't have to wear a mask.
yep, everybody else is masked.
Everyone else.
Except the referees, I'm told, because of the problem with the whistle. So this is for, and we'll revisit it every 30 days, same concept. Let the clerk get the motion.
Do you want the motion to include that it is revisited every 30 days?
Yeah, our intent is to revisit this every board meeting or
when
sooner
needed.
if necessary,
Yeah.
but at least every board meeting,
Got it.
which is our normal policy on the masking as well. Yeah. Okay, there's a motion on the floor and there's a second. So,
Roll call.
yeah, we'll go ahead and take a roll call vote on this since we had one on the last one. So, Mr. Castle?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Ray? Mr. Droney?
Yes.
Yay?
Yay.
Yes.
Okay, 7-0. Motion passes. Okay, thank you very much for that good discussion. 9.4, action to approve incentive bonus for new teachers.
All right, so this was brought up and is allowable under statute 72-2244, and it's an incentive bonus for our newly hired certified staff because it is difficult to find them. we've got a good group, so just brought before the board that this was something that you all wanted to do, so.
Yes, so for background information, we had a very, what we felt like in the P&EA agreement was a good move for long-term veteran teachers to keep them motivated to stay, to keep working, so on and so forth. We did not do as much for our entry-level teachers, and so this bonus, I'd like to see us revisited each year, especially with hiring problems, because this could make the difference in getting someone good and not. And so that's the motivation behind this, and we have discussed it, of course. So I need a motion on that.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve that bonus for the new teachers. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. 9.5, action to set special meeting to hold hearing to exceed the revenue neutral rate.
All right, okay, so with the revenue neutral rate this year, which that's something that's new, we have to have our budget to KSDE by September 20th. So what they've done is the deadline, the timeframe, August the 20th to September 20th, and of course, that's right in between our regular scheduled meetings. We have to hold a hearing where we're gonna say that we're gonna exceed the revenue neutral rate, and we can do that at the same time, well, on the same day that we have the budget hearing, but at a separate time, okay? So these two items, 9.5 and 9.6, are really the same, it will be the same day. We need to hold a meeting so that we can have a hearing for the revenue neutral rate, and then what we have to do is we have to publish that we're going to exceed it, and the budget, we have to publish both of those things 10 days before we have the official hearing, okay? So we're gonna say we're gonna exceed the revenue neutral rate, which we already know as a group. We don't have to have a meeting separate to say that. But we need to publish to exceed it, and then 10 days after, have the meeting. So we would like to publish the budget on August the 25th. And then that'll give us 10 days, calendar days, so by September the 4th. So the week of, after September 6th, that week, either the 7th through the 10th, or the next week on Thursday, Friday, because Donnie's out of town.
7th looks good.
So the 7th, 8th, 9th, or 10th, we need to have a meeting one of those days to say we're going to exceed the revenue neutral rate, and then as soon as we're done with that, and say, here's the hearing for the budget on the same day, one of those days.
So,
Not the 13th, 14th, 15th.
okay, so I heard Lou said the 7th, but I have night class on the 7th, and I've got to leave early for morning class on the 7th.
We'll
And
go
so,
to 9th then.
okay, the evening of the 9th would work for me if it would work for others.
Is the evening better for you, or is it, how long is this gonna take? Just a few minutes?
I would-
It won't take very long.
15 minutes, I
15
would
minutes,
say.
probably. Because we just have to say revenue neutral rate, we're going to exceed it, and we're finished with that, and then here's the budget.
What is the 9th? What day?
Thursday.
Thursday,
Unless we have people here to.
Yes.
unless there are people here to contest.
Correct, which is unlikely, I would think, given our
So
circumstances.
like 6 o'clock on the 9th?
I would think that would be fine. What are people's thoughts?
Sure.
Roger, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'd rather go morning, but I know some don't, so that's all right.
Yeah, my problem is if we go morning, it's got to be really early because I've got morning class that day too, but, you know,
That's all right.
okay, 9/9, September 9th at 6 PM. Okay, so we need, and we can have these
can
back
have-
to back.
Yes,
So
we have
need
one
a-
at 6 and one at 6:15.
Yeah, yeah.
So-
Have a 6:05.
Oh, we
Yeah.
could have 6:05, because really, the revenue neutral rate, there's not going to be anything that I'm aware of to discuss.
Immediately follow.
Yeah, immediately following.
following, let's do it that way, yeah.
So you'll have to publish, when you publish your budget, you have to put a time
Okay.
that the meeting will have.
Okay, 6:05 is fine, 6:05 is
So
fine.
we'll put 6:05.
Yeah, that's fine.
6:05, okay, I'll be there.
Okay, so we need a motion on 9.5 then for the special meeting for the revenue neutral rate.
So moved.
Second?
Moved and seconded to have the hearing on the exceeding the revenue neutral rate, 6 PM, September 9th. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Then a motion on 9.6. Same concept except
So
6:05.
Second?
Moved and seconded to have a special meeting to hold a budget hearing, 6:05 PM, September 9th. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries on both of those. All right, 9.7, got an executive session. It's straight up 7 o'clock right now. I would think we'll certainly need 30 minutes, and so let's go ahead and start with 30 minutes, I would say. We may have to extend even beyond that. Let's start with that.
We're going to take a break.
Does anybody need a break before we begin that? Hearing none, we'll need a motion on that.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to enter executive session, discuss confidential employee information pursuant to non-elected personnel exception under COMA and the exception for employee negotiations at 7 PM for 30 minutes, and we'll return to this meeting, or open meeting, 7:30. We will include superintendent and assistant superintendent right now. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. So we are in executive session now till 7:30.
7:31, 7:46.
Okay.
Board and the two administrators.
All right, so we are back in open session, and we've got a motion to extend executive session for another 15 minutes. And,
I'll second that.
all right, been moved and seconded to extend executive session to discuss confidential employee information pursuant to non-elected personnel exception in Tacoma and exception of employee appointment negotiations in Tacoma at 7:01 for 15 minutes. Return back to open meeting at 7:16. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, Assistant Superintendent and Superintendent are both,
7:31.
excuse me,
46.
7:31 to 7:46. I apologize. Okay, thank you. Yeah. motion to that extent?
Second.
Moved and seconded to extend executive session to discuss confidential employee information pursuant to non-elected personnel exception under COMA. Mic's not on. Sorry, we're back in open session, and we are going to need to extend, and there's a motion on the floor for an extension of executive session for 15 minutes and also a second. And so we will, for non-elected personnel exception under COMA and the exception for employee-employer negotiations under COMA, 7:47. And we'll return to open meeting at 8:02. And for now, the superintendent and assistant superintendent are in this. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we are back in open session, and we are going to need to extend again, but we are going to take a 5-minute break before extending executive session. So we will need to extend executive session, hold 1 minute, Olivia, for another 15 minutes, so I need a motion in that regard.
That's a move.
Second.
Moved and seconded to enter executive session for 15 minutes for non-elected personnel exception or coma, employer point negotiations under coma. That will start at 8:08, and we'll come back here at 8:23. So we'll be in recess, a break, 8:03 to 8:08. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Hey, Roger, let me ask you.
Okay, we are back in open session and we're ready to move on to item 9.8, discussion and action on administrator/director salaries.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the superintendent's recommendations for salary increases for our building level administrators, Misty Russell, Kurt Freeze, Shelley Gardner, Tyler Gordon, Rob Barkus, and Eric Swanson.
Second.
Okay, there is a motion to accept superintendent's recommendation, all those building administrator salaries, and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we're going to have another motion. Motion carries on that. We have another motion on director type then. So-
I'd make a motion to accept the superintendent's recommendation for salary increases for our James Ramsey.
Okay,
Second?
moved and seconded to accept superintendent's recommendation on salary increase for James Ramsey. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Motion carries.
I'd make a motion to accept the superintendent's recommendation for salary for increase for Ben McGuire.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to accept superintendent's recommendation, salary increase for Mr. McGuire. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, motion carries.
Make a motion to accept the superintendent's recommendations for salary increase for Tanya Phillips.
I second it.
Moved and seconded to accept superintendent's recommendation, salary increase for Ms. Phillips. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
I'll make a motion that we accept the superintendent's recommendation for salary increase for Rick Giefer.
Second.
Moved and seconded to accept superintendent's recommendation, salary increase for Mr. Giefer. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Motion carries 6-1. Okay. Moving on to 9.9, discussion and action on the superintendent's salary, 21-22. It's my recommendation that Ms. Ray be paid a salary of $125,000 a year for 21-22, and an additional $5,696 be paid by this district towards her fringe above and beyond what she's currently getting for fringe now. That's my recommendation.
Second.
It's not a motion, it's a
I'll make
recommendation.
that
so-
motion.
All right.
Second?
Okay, it's moved and seconded to accept my recommendation. Do you need that further clarified, clerk, or did you get the numbers on that? Got it. Moved and seconded to accept that recommendation for Ms. Ray's compensation package. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. On to 9.10.
Okay, so recommendation for employment, Valerie Morrison as the Guthridge custodian effective August the 10th, 2021. And Jamari Green, she'll be the Guthridge aide effective 21-22. So I recommend you approve those two for employment.
So moved?
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve those recommendations for employment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Okay, we've got a couple resignations for employment. Lenny Thomas, Guthridge custodian effective August the 6th, 2021. And Ren Westhoff, part-time custodian effective July the 30th, 2021. I recommend that you approve those two for resignation.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept those resignations for employment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. No further business. We are adjourned.